You must have heard of design processes like design thinking and double diamond. These are super popular among the design community and are used across various disciplines of design. However, as a UX designer, it can be challenging to apply these processes on a real-world project. Constraints such as time, budget, and client requirements can affect the stages in these processes. In this video, I'm going to share a super simple framework that is built off these processes that will help you take a UX design project from start to finish. To demonstrate how it works, let's take the example of redesigning an e-commerce website that sells shoes. So there are basically three phases in this framework: kickoff, learn, and sketch. Let's dive into each one and see what they're about. In the kickoff phase, you would typically sit down with the client and ask them a few questions that will help you understand their business, their users, the market that they're operating in, and the problem that this project is about. This meeting can either be done in person or it can be done over a virtual call, which is typically called a kickoff meeting or a stakeholder interview. The end goal of this meeting is to understand the scope of the project and, more importantly, what is expected from you from this project. You can either record this meeting or you can take down notes, as you will need to refer to them later on in the project. So in our e-commerce website example, we could ask questions like, when did your business start? Why did you start this business? What are the different types of shoes that you sell? Who are you targeting? Are you targeting an affluent audience or are you targeting the general market? Which are your best selling shoes? And then you can dive deeper into the project and ask them what the problem is about. Why do they want to redesign this website? What are the problems they're facing? What is the goal of this project? All of these questions should give you a good understanding of the scope. So in our example, let's say the goal of this project is to redesign the product detail page in order to increase add to cart conversion clicks. Currently, the add to cart conversions is very low and they want to increase it at least by 10%. So once you have an understanding of the scope of the project, then you need to move on to phase 2, which is called learn. And in this phase, you basically want to learn more about the users, the client business, the competition, and you want to study the existing website or product of the client. This phase is basically the research phase where you'll be asking questions, you'll be observing users, and you'll be gathering all this data so you can analyze it further and come up with solutions in the next phase. So ideally, to start, you first list down questions that you want to ask that will help you understand the users, competition, the existing product, and more about the client's business with regards to this project. Once you have your questions listed, then you want to list down the people you want to ask these questions to. Now this can vary from, you can ask the product manager, you can ask the other UX designers on the team, you can ask the users directly, so that's what we call user research. You can also ask the internet, which is basically going to Google or typing these questions in ChatGPT. At the end of the day, you want to ask as many relevant people as possible so you get a wide perspective on the problem and on the answers of these questions. As you ask these questions and you collect your answers, you should either note them down in a notebook or you should type them out in a text editor and organize them in a folder or an online drive. This will help you share your answers and your findings with your teammates. After you have collected all the data and all the research information, it's time to sit and analyze it. So basically what this means is you need to find patterns in your data, which basically means, did a few users say the same things, or did you find similarities in your answers? Also, you can find conflicting answers, such as a user might have said that they found the page easy to use, some other users might have said they found the page difficult to use. So you need to then probe further and find out what's the reason behind these conflicting answers. So in our example, a user might have said that they went on the product detail page, but they couldn't identify the correct size for them. The size chart that was provided was confusing and they were not clear on which shoe was perfect for them. The end goal of this phase is to analyze all the research that you have gotten to make conclusions and recommendations that will help you come up with solutions in the next phase. So an example of a conclusion for our project is that we could say customers found it difficult to determine which size is perfect for them based on the data that we collected. And an example of a recommendation could be, let's make a size chart that is super easy to use and that will help the user instantly identify which size is perfect for them. The conclusions and recommendations that you identified in the previous phase will help you in this phase, which is called sketch, and basically involves coming up with solutions to the problems that you identified in phase 2. So to start off, you need to come up with what I call raw solutions, and these are basically rough ideas of solutions to the problems you identified. So to do this, you can either take a paper or pen and sketch rough ideas, or you could use sticky notes and paste them on a whiteboard. Basically, you want to use your hands versus typing on a computer, as this helps fuel your creative juices and come up with more wider ideas without constraining yourself to a software. So what you would typically do is you would take a few problems that you identified, look at solutions online, or you can look at inspirations online, see how your competitors have solved this problem, and then you can come up with solutions. So in our shoe example, we identify the problem that users cannot identify the perfect size for them. So a few rough ideas or rough solutions could be, let's show a clear size chart that shows all types of sizes such as UK sizes, US sizes, European sizes, and so on. Another idea would be, let's allow the user to enter the length of their foot and accordingly determine which size is correct for them. To take it even further, we could come up with this crazy idea that we would allow the user to take a photo of a shoe that they already have, which fits them perfectly, and use AI to identify the size of that shoe and matches with the size of the shoe that we are selling. The point is that you don't need to worry about the feasibility or quality of your ideas just yet. You just need to get quantity out there and think of as many ideas as possible. Once you have a large collection of ideas, then you can sit and sift through them and think about which ones are feasible and more realistic to implement. So to do this, you can sit down with your tech team or your product manager and ask them if these ideas will work or if there are any constraints regarding them. Next, you want to sketch out the finalized ideas or the ideas that you think might work and actually make wireframes of them. A wireframe is basically a rough sketch of an idea so that you can show it to a user or a product manager and get quality feedback from them. Again, I recommend starting on paper, as this is a super fast and effective way to get your ideas out there and test them with users. To do this, you simply have to take an idea and think about the steps a user needs to take to fulfill that solution. So in our example, let's say we take the idea of using AI to detect the size from a photo. So the steps could be, a user will take the photo, a user will upload the photo, then AI will study it and try to detect the correct size, and finally we will show the user which size is perfect for them. So essentially these are the 4 steps involved in this solution. Then for each step, you can draw a particular screen that will help the user take action to perform on that step. So this might involve, for the first step of uploading a photo, we could have an icon for the camera. For when the user taps on it, the camera will open up and they can click the photo. For the second step is, we can provide an upload button for them to upload that photo to our database. The third step would be, we would tell the user that the AI is detecting their photo and it might take some time. And finally, in the fourth step, we can show the user the size that matches them perfectly and give some description on how we did it. One point to remember in this phase is that your first idea is never perfect, and that's okay. As designers, we continuously iterate and make better ideas, thinking about the users and thinking about what problems they might face with our initial solutions. So essentially, an iteration means you want to take an existing solution and think about, can I make this better? Can I do something that will make it easier for the user to use my product, or make it simpler or faster? Essentially, you want your new ideas to be better than the old ones. Once you have your wireframes ready, you can test them with users and ask them for feedback. So in our example, we could take our 4 wireframes for the 4 steps and ask the user what they would do if we asked them to upload a photo and use AI to detect the correct size. That's essentially phase 3, which involves sketching out ideas based on the problems we identified in phase 2. So essentially, that is the framework that will help you take a UX design project from start to finish. One important point to keep in mind is that this framework is not linear. That means it is perfectly normal to switch, let's say, from phase 3 to phase 2. So let's say you're solutioning, you're brainstorming ideas, but you learn something more about the users or competition. You can go back to phase 2 and dive deeper into what you learned to help you come up with more problems and more ideas for your solutions. The bottom line is, you need to keep practicing, and over time you will get better and better at it. If you want to learn more about this framework, I've written an entire book about it called Kickstart UX, a beginner's framework, in which I have shown real-world examples to help demonstrate how to use this framework on a real project. I've also included a chapter called Design Along Exercise, in which you and I will both work on a real-world project, and you will see how a senior designer will use this framework from start to finish, and decisions that I took, and also the reasonings behind my solutions. This book also comes with a free question bank that involves 100 questions that will help you conduct better UX research. I really hope this framework helps you out, and if you want to learn more about UX design, do consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.